Sarah, Mark, and Helen vanished without a trace, 3 lives swallowed by the dark mystery of Devil's Den. What if the monster terrorizing their town isn't just a myth? New shocking evidence reveals a chilling truth that turns everything upside down. Who is really behind the Devil's Den killings? And how long has this evil been hiding in plain sight? The town surrounding Devil's Den was small and quiet, nestled deep in the wilderness where the forest seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. For years, the community had lived peacefully, its residents familiar with the dense woods and winding roads that defined their home. Yet beneath this calm surface, something dark had begun to stir, something that would soon shatter the town's sense of safety and peace. Over the course of several months, a disturbing pattern emerged that no one could ignore. 3 people disappeared without explanation, vanishing as if swallowed by the very forest itself. The victims were all very different from one another. There was a middle-aged man who worked at the local hardware store, a young woman attending a nearby college, and an elderly woman who lived alone on the edge of town. They had no clear connection to each other, no obvious reasons to be targeted. Each disappearance baffled the police and terrified the townspeople. Searches turned up no clues, no signs of struggle, no traces of the missing, nothing that could explain where they had gone or who might have taken them. Rumors began to spread quickly, fueled by fear and imagination. People whispered about a monster haunting the woods, a creature lurking just beyond the trees, waiting to strike. Some claimed to have seen strange shadows moving at night, or heard eerie noises that chilled them to the bone. Others told stories of a dark figure that could slip silently through the forest, disappearing without a trace. This Devil's Den monster became the subject of local legends, capturing the imaginations of those desperate for answers, but afraid of what those answers might be. The police were under pressure to find the truth, but their investigations repeatedly hit dead ends. They questioned friends and family of the missing, scoured the forest with search parties, and followed every lead they could find. Yet the disappearances remained unsolved, and no solid evidence ever surfaced to point to a suspect or motive. It was as if the victims had simply vanished into thin air. The lack of progress only deepened the town's anxiety and suspicion. Businesses near the forest saw fewer customers as people avoided the area, especially after dark. Parents warned their children not to stray too far, and many residents installed extra locks and security cameras around their homes. The atmosphere in the town changed dramatically. What was once a peaceful place became a community gripped by fear and uncertainty. The shadow of the unknown presence in Devil's Den hung over every street and every household. Despite all this, there was still no official explanation. Was the monster real, or just a terrifying story born of panic and grief? Could the disappearances be the work of a human predator hiding in plain sight? These questions haunted everyone, and as time went on, the mystery only grew darker. The residents of Devil's Den were left waiting, hoping for answers that might never come. But then, just when it seemed the case would remain cold forever, something unexpected appeared. Something that would change everything the town thought it knew about the monster in Devil's Den. Months passed since the last disappearance, and the town's fear had settled into a heavy silence. People still whispered about the Devil's Den monster, but life had slowly begun to move on, even if the mystery remained unsolved. Then, out of nowhere, a discovery shook the entire community and reignited hope that answers were finally within reach. A local hiker, exploring deeper parts of the forest that few dared to enter, stumbled upon something hidden, a small cave, tucked away beneath thick overgrowth and almost invisible to the casual eye. Inside the cave, the hiker found evidence that instantly sent chills down his spine. Torn pieces of clothing lay scattered across the rocky floor, some stained and worn. Nearby, broken personal items like a cracked phone and a shattered watch hinted at a violent struggle. Strange markings covered the cave walls, scratches and symbols etched with a shaky hand. The air was heavy and cold, as if the cave itself held the memory of terrible events. The discovery was reported immediately, and the police quickly organized a team to investigate. When officers entered the cave, the scene inside confirmed their darkest fears. The torn clothes matched descriptions of the missing victims. The scattered belongings suggested that someone had been held captive or had desperately tried to escape. But what unsettled investigators the most was a small makeshift journal found tucked in a crevice. Its pages were filled with cryptic writings and disturbing drawings, revealing the thoughts of someone deeply troubled. The handwriting was frantic, the words filled with anger, fear, and obsession. Sketches of faces, forest maps, and strange symbols created a chaotic picture of a mind slowly unraveling. The journal hinted at careful planning and a twisted sense of control. The writer spoke of luring victims into the forest, of hiding them away from the world. The tone shifted between moments of calm reflection and bursts of violent rage. This discovery brought a grim new perspective to the investigation. What had once been feared as a supernatural force now appeared to be a very human horror. The monster was not something unknown or unexplainable, but likely a person with a dark obsession, capable of great cruelty. The police began to focus their efforts on understanding who could have left these clues behind. The journal became a key piece of evidence, providing insight into the mind of the perpetrator and possible motives. It also raised more questions than answers. How long had this person been hiding in the woods? How many victims had they taken? And most importantly, was the monster still out there, watching and waiting? Locals grew even more uneasy. The discovery of the cave proved the rumors true. Something terrible had happened, and the danger was real. Parents became more protective, warning children to stay close to home. Some townspeople avoided the forest entirely, refusing to risk any contact with the place now known to hide such darkness. Others tried to make sense of what the journal revealed, attempting to understand how a person could live with such hidden violence. As the investigation continued, police scoured the forest and questioned anyone who might have seen something unusual. The case took a serious turn toward uncovering a calculated killer, not a beast. The evidence collected in the cave made it clear that the Devil's Den monster was a living, breathing human, and that this human had been active in the shadows for longer than anyone suspected. Despite this progress, the killer's identity remained a mystery. The town was left in a state of tension, waiting for the next breakthrough. The feeling of being watched, of danger lurking just beyond the trees, hung heavy in the air. And the question on everyone's mind was this: how close was the monster to being caught? Or was the nightmare only just beginning? As the investigation moved forward, detectives focused on any possible connection between the mysterious journal, the cave evidence, and people living in the area. One of the most promising leads came from a grainy surveillance video captured by a security camera on a private property near the forest's edge. The footage showed a shadowy figure moving slowly through the trees at night, close to the time when one of the victims was last seen. The figure's features were difficult to make out. Cloaked in darkness, the person appeared careful, almost stalking, blending seamlessly into the surroundings. Yet the clothes and build suggested someone who knew the area well, someone who might have lived in the town for years without raising suspicion. Police began cross-referencing the figure's size and appearance with known residents. Their search uncovered a man with a violent past who had once lived near Devil's Den. This man had a history of aggressive behavior and run-ins with the law, including previous charges related to assault and harassment. Despite these troubling signs, he had not been linked to any serious crimes in recent years and had moved away shortly after the last disappearance, making him an immediate suspect. Authorities tried to locate him, but he seemed to have vanished without a trace, further raising suspicions. Had he fled because he knew he was about to be caught? Or was he trying to disappear from the darkness that surrounded him? Meanwhile, rumors spread through the town like wildfire. Locals reported hearing strange noises in the forest. Whispers, rustling leaves, and even faint cries late at night. Some claimed to have seen flickering lights in the woods or glimpsed a figure watching from a distance. Fear gripped the community more tightly than ever, with many locking their doors and refusing to venture outside after sunset. The once friendly and open town had become closed off and suspicious, its residents looking over their shoulders and wondering if the monster was closer than they dared imagine. Despite the mounting fear, investigators had few concrete leads beyond the blurry footage and the criminal record of the man who had disappeared. They revisited old case files, talked to neighbors, and searched every inch of the forest, hoping to find new clues. The man's sudden disappearance complicated matters, leaving the police scrambling to track down any hint of his whereabouts. His absence raised the possibility that he was still involved and hiding nearby, watching the town's panic from the shadows. The question that haunted everyone was whether he was the true Devil A.S. Den monster or just a red herring meant to distract from the real culprit. With no solid proof tying the man directly to the crimes, the investigation stalled. The police faced mounting pressure from the community and media to solve the case quickly, but the darkness around Devil's Den seemed impenetrable. Every lead seemed to twist back into mystery, every clue adding layers of confusion. As days turned into weeks, hope began to fade, and the nightmare threatened to become a permanent part of the town's history. Yet the detectives refused to give up. They knew that somewhere in the forest, answers waited to be found. The question was how long it would take before the truth came to light, and whether it would reveal something far more disturbing than anyone expected. The mystery of the shadowy figure was far from over, and the real story behind the Devil's Den killings remained hidden in the depths of the woods, waiting for the moment when it would finally be uncovered. The investigation seemed stuck in a loop of dead ends until a breakthrough came through advances in forensic technology. Police decided to revisit the evidence collected from the cave, including the torn clothing and other items found there months earlier. Using new DNA testing methods that had recently become available, forensic experts were able to extract genetic material that had previously gone undetected. This fresh analysis revealed surprising results. The DNA found on the clothing did not match the man with the violent past who had disappeared. Instead, it pointed to someone completely unexpected. This new DNA profile belonged to a person with no known criminal record, someone who had lived quietly on the outskirts of town. Digging into this individual's background uncovered a deeply private person, often described by neighbors as reclusive and strange, but not dangerous. Few people really knew much about them, and they had managed to avoid public attention for years. However, police discovered unsettling details hidden beneath this calm surface, a history of obsession with the victims and a fascination with the dark stories surrounding Devil's Den. This revelation stunned both investigators and the community. The man they had focused on earlier might have been a convenient suspect, but the true perpetrator was someone far more elusive. The new suspect's history revealed troubling signs. Journals filled with strange writings, collections of articles about the disappearances, and evidence of secret trips into the forest. Authorities realized that this person had been watching, planning, and possibly stalking the victims for months, if not years. As the investigation expanded, more evidence began to emerge linking the new suspect to the crime scene. Small traces of material were found near the cave entrance that matched clothing worn by this individual. Witnesses came forward with vague recollections of seeing a lone figure walking near the forest at odd hours, sometimes carrying items that seemed suspicious. Police worked tirelessly to build a case that could finally bring the Devil's Den monster to justice. At the same time, the discovery raised chilling questions about whether more than one person could have been involved. The complexity of the evidence suggested that this might not be the work of a single individual, but rather a network of dark secrets hiding beneath the town's surface. The possibility of accomplices or someone enabling the crimes sent shockwaves through the community. For the residents of Devil's Den, this revelation was both a relief and a new source of fear. They now knew that the monster was not a myth, but a real person living among them, someone who had cleverly hidden in plain sight for years. The idea that an ordinary neighbor could harbor such darkness shattered their sense of trust and safety. Investigators intensified their search, following every lead and re-examining every detail. The community watched anxiously as the case took a darker, more complicated turn. While the identity of the suspect was still officially unconfirmed, the evidence pointed unmistakably toward a chilling truth. The Devil's Den monster was a disturbed individual capable of terrible violence, and the town's nightmare was far from over. As new pieces of the puzzle fell into place, everyone waited for the moment when the full story would come to light, when the monster's mask would finally be pulled away, revealing the true face behind the killings. The question on everyone's mind was whether justice could be served before more lives were lost. Just when it seemed the case was reaching its breaking point, a local journalist uncovered a hidden layer of the mystery that no one had expected. While digging through old police files stored in a dusty archive room, the reporter found long-forgotten documents connected to a series of unsolved crimes from 2 decades earlier, all occurring in the same Devil's Den area. These old cases bore eerie similarities to the recent disappearances, victims gone without a trace, strange markings near the scenes, and no clear suspects ever named. The possibility that the new killings were tied to this older string of crimes sent shockwaves through both law enforcement and the town itself. The archived files detailed reports of missing persons, strange sightings, and strange behavior in the forest from years ago. Witnesses from that time described seeing a figure moving silently through the trees, often wearing dark clothing and disappearing into the night. These accounts mirrored exactly the recent descriptions of the Devil's Den monster. The parallels were undeniable. It appeared the monster was not a new evil, but a shadow from the past, re-emerging after years of silence. Further investigation revealed that some of the original case files had been quietly closed with little explanation, leading to speculation that the cases were mishandled or that someone powerful might have interfered. The journalist's discovery reopened these cold cases, forcing the police to look at the entire history of disappearances as one continuous nightmare rather than separate, isolated events. This historic perspective changed the way investigators approached the current evidence and suspects. Residents of Devil's Den were shaken to their core. For years, many had believed the past was behind them, that those earlier horrors were distant memories. Now, with the connection to the recent crimes clear, fear returned in full force. The realization that the monster might have been operating under their noses for decades, hidden in plain sight, left the town feeling vulnerable and betrayed. Old wounds reopened, and long-suppressed questions about the town's safety and the effectiveness of past investigations came to light. The journalist's report brought new attention to the case, attracting resources from outside agencies and experts who joined the effort to solve the mystery once and for all. With fresh eyes on the problem, combined with new forensic techniques and the cold cases reopened, the investigation began to gain momentum. Clues from the past and present were linked, helping to create a clearer picture of the monster's pattern and possible identity. The renewed focus also uncovered hints of why the monster might have stayed hidden for so long. Some evidence suggested the killer had deep knowledge of the forest, local customs, and even the police procedures. This insider knowledge helped the monster evade capture for years, striking fear into the heart of the community while slipping away each time. The final chapter of the Devil's Den killings was still unwritten, but one thing was certain. The monster's reign of terror was far longer and more terrifying than anyone had imagined. With the new, shocking evidence revealed, the town and investigators faced the difficult path ahead. One that could finally bring justice to the victims and peace to a community haunted by shadows for far too long.